Imagine you book a flight from Chicago to Dallas. The flight takes around 2.5 hours, and your ticket costs about $180. For most passengers, that is where the story ends. You choose a seat, arrive at the airport, board the plane, and expect to reach your destination safely. But behind that simple journey is one of the most expensive and complex businesses in the world. The moment a flight is scheduled, the airline begins spending money. By the time the aircraft lands, the airline may have spent more than $15,000 operating that single flight. After all expenses are paid, the average airline earns only about $7 profit per passenger. That means the airline makes less profit from your ticket than the price of a cup of coffee. To understand why airline profits are so small, you have to look at every cost involved in getting a large passenger airplane safely into the sky. The first major expense is the aircraft itself. A modern Boeing 737, one of the world's most common passenger airplanes, costs more than $100 million when purchased new. Most airlines cannot afford to buy large numbers of aircraft outright, so they lease them instead. Leasing works similarly to leasing a car, except the payments are enormous. A typical lease payment for a new Boeing 737 can reach around $400,000 every month. The airline must make these payments whether the plane is flying constantly or sitting unused at the airport. Even when bad weather cancels flights, lease payments continue. The airplane itself is one of the biggest financial responsibilities an airline carries. On top of the lease, airlines also pay for insurance. Passenger aircraft require extremely large insurance policies because airlines are responsible for passenger safety, aircraft damage, airport operations, and many other risks. Insurance costs can become even higher during periods of global instability or increased aviation accidents. Another hidden expense is maintenance. Airplanes cannot simply fly until something breaks. Every aircraft follows strict maintenance schedules required by aviation authorities. Mechanics inspect engines, landing gear, hydraulic systems, electronics, and structural components constantly. Airlines also save money into maintenance reserves for major repairs in the future. Engine overhauls alone can cost millions of dollars. Fuel is another massive expense. A Boeing 737 burns approximately 850 gallons of jet fuel every hour during flight. On a 2.5-hour route like Chicago to Dallas, the aircraft can use more than 2,000 gallons of fuel. Depending on fuel prices, that single flight may cost around $5,000 in fuel alone. Fuel prices are extremely unpredictable. Oil prices can rise suddenly because of wars, economic problems, or supply shortages. When fuel prices increase, airlines immediately feel the impact across their entire fleet. In some years, rising fuel costs have pushed airlines into bankruptcy. To protect themselves, some airlines use a strategy called fuel hedging. This means they agree to purchase fuel at fixed prices months in advance. If prices rise later, the airline saves money. But if prices fall, the airline may end up paying more than competitors. Fuel remains one of the hardest costs for airlines to control. The next major expense is labor. Many passengers only see the pilots and flight attendants, but a huge number of workers are involved in every flight. Pilots, cabin crew, gate agents, baggage handlers, mechanics, dispatchers, cleaners, ramp workers, air traffic support staff, and customer service employees all contribute to the operation. Modern airline pilots are highly trained professionals responsible for hundreds of lives every day. Senior captains at major airlines can earn more than $300,000 annually. Flight attendants also require specialized safety training and medical emergency preparation. Mechanics must be certified to inspect and repair aircraft properly. Ground crews are equally important. Baggage handlers load luggage, fuel crews refill aircraft tanks, cleaners prepare the cabin, and ramp workers guide aircraft safely around busy airports. Without these teams, flights could not operate. Labor costs now account for more than 1/3 of total airline operating expenses. On many flights, the total labor cost can exceed $5,000 before the plane even leaves the gate. Airports also charge airlines significant fees. Every time a plane lands, the airline pays a landing fee based on the size and weight of the aircraft. Large airports like Chicago O'Hare charge thousands of dollars for each landing. Airlines also rent gates where passengers board and exit the aircraft. They pay for jet bridges, terminal space, baggage systems, airport security operations, and airport infrastructure. Even parking an aircraft at the airport costs money. In addition, airlines pay navigation fees for air traffic control services. Throughout the flight, air traffic controllers guide the aircraft safely through crowded airspace. Airlines are charged for using these systems. Then there are many smaller operational expenses that passengers rarely notice. Catering companies provide food and drinks for passengers. Cleaning crews prepare cabins between flights. Water systems are refilled. Lavatories are serviced. Ground equipment must be maintained and operated. Individually, these costs may seem small. Together, they add thousands of dollars to every flight. When all expenses are combined, the operating cost of a single domestic flight becomes enormous. A typical cost breakdown may look like this. Fuel around $5,000. Labor around $5,000. Aircraft lease costs around $2,500. Airport and gate fees around $2,000. Navigation, cleaning, and catering around $1,500. Maintenance reserves around $800. This brings the total direct operating cost to roughly $15,000 to $17,000 for one flight. At first glance, airlines appear to make large amounts of money from ticket sales. If an airplane has 160 seats and every passenger pays $180, the flight generates about $29,000 in revenue. However, that revenue must also cover many indirect business expenses. Airlines operate massive headquarters with thousands of employees managing scheduling, finance, technology systems, customer support, marketing, legal operations, and training programs. Airlines also invest heavily in computer systems that manage bookings, flight planning, crew scheduling, weather tracking, and maintenance records. These systems cost millions of dollars every year to operate securely and efficiently. Once all of these overhead expenses are included, airline profit margins become extremely small. The average global airline profit margin is usually around 3 to 4%. That means airlines keep only a tiny portion of the money passengers spend. This small margin makes airlines highly vulnerable to disruptions. Weather delays are one of the biggest problems in aviation. A thunderstorm in one city can affect flights across the country. When flights are delayed, airlines must pay extra fuel costs, crew overtime, airport fees, and passenger compensation. A 2-hour delay can cost an airline more than $10,000. If passengers miss connecting flights, airlines may need to provide hotel rooms, meals, or replacement tickets. One delayed aircraft can create scheduling problems for multiple flights throughout the day. Empty seats also reduce profits dramatically. Airlines operate with average seat occupancy rates of around 84%. That means some seats remain empty on nearly every flight. The aircraft still burns the same amount of fuel whether every seat is occupied or not. Because airline profits are so small, many airlines now rely heavily on extra fees and add-on services to survive. Checked baggage fees have become a major source of revenue. Airlines also charge for seat selection, priority boarding, extra legroom, onboard meals, and flight changes. Loyalty programs are even more profitable. Airline credit card partnerships generate billions of dollars every year. Banks pay airlines huge amounts of money to offer co-branded credit cards with travel rewards. Every time customers use these cards, airlines receive additional income. Some low-cost airlines now earn more money from fees than from ticket prices themselves. Budget carriers often advertise extremely low fares while charging separately for bags, seat assignments, food, and carry-on luggage. Over time, the airline business model has changed significantly. Airfares have become cheaper when adjusted for inflation, but additional charges have increased. Many passengers now pay lower base ticket prices while spending more on optional extras. Despite all the challenges, airlines continue operating because global air travel remains essential. Businesses depend on fast transportation. Families rely on airlines to stay connected across countries and continents. Tourism industries depend heavily on aviation. Every flight represents a huge coordination effort involving thousands of people, expensive technology, strict safety systems, and enormous financial risk. The next time you board an airplane, it may seem like a simple trip from one city to another. But behind that journey is an incredibly expensive operation working continuously to move hundreds of passengers safely through the sky. Before the aircraft even leaves the gate, thousands of dollars have already been spent. By the time the flight lands, the airline may earn only a few dollars per passenger after covering every expense. That is the true cost of one flight,